Greetings all you Metamaniacs, I'm T-Money-G here with my co-host Good Ol' Maurice to share the secrets of a record-shattering 8.8 million Nightsister run in P4 of the Sith Triumvirate Raid. Before we dig in, a huge thank you to Mekarogue for sharing his secrets to his record-shattering score. As always, it helps us immensely when you like, subscribe, and also when you share your own meta-breaking tips and tricks in the comments. Additionally, in the description below you can find a link to the Nightsister Discord server where you will often find Meka hanging out, and we've put chapter markers in the description to help you jump around this video to the parts that are most relevant to you. Though Mekarogue's Nightsisters are tricked out, it's important to note that his GP is 2.4 million, so these scores are not out of reach for the average player. We'll show you his particular team comp and 8 steps that will pile on the damage and boost your score immensely, regardless of what combination of Nightsisters you run.
Nightsisters have utility in many phases of the raid, but today we're going to focus on Meka's team, most commonly run in P4 to achieve monster scores of 50% or more of Darth Nihilus' health. If you run Nightsisters, most of these strategies apply across the board, but the current ideal team for high scores, and the one Meka runs, is Asajj Ventress lead, Mother Talzin, Daka, Talia, and the Nightsister zombie. Each Nightsister has a key role in making this happen, and first we'll go over the key abilities and zetas that are at the heart of this comp. Asajj is your primary damage dealer, and her Rampage unique with the zeta gives a 15% stacking offense each time an enemy or an ally dies, and also grants turn meter to her when they die as well. The key to the entire strategy lies with Ventress's lead. Ventress's lead is called Nightsister Swiftness, and it gives 30 speed, 30% offense, and all Nightsisters gain 50% turn meter when they fall below 100% health. There's also a turn meter removal element, a 50% chance to remove 20% turn meter when they damage an enemy. Second character, and surprisingly important in this scenario, is going to be Talia. She's your biggest source of the healing, with her ability to heal on both her basic and her Water of Life special. The latter also provides a cleanse and get rid of the defense down. And since her healing depends on how much damage she does, the higher damage on Talia, the better. The third Nightsister in this comp is Daka, and her Chant of Resurrection is your next source of healing, and it heals based on her entire health pool. You can put a zeta on her unique and provide a bigger health pool for her, which provides bigger heals, in addition to keeping her alive throughout the battle. It also resurrects any of the dead Nightsisters. If any Nightsister dies, it reduces the cooldown of this move by 1. The second main damage dealer in your comp here is Talzin, and her Spirit Blade attack can also function as a heal, as it calls all the Nightsisters, including Talia, to attack. Talia's attack will heal, in addition to any health steal from Ventress, Talzin, and Daka. Often after Spirit Blade, multiple Nightsisters will be at 100% turn meter, and she also has the ability to land Plague with her AoE. These 4 characters are all support characters and can provide the Soothe ability to remove the bonds of weakness. The 5th character is going to be Nightsister Zombie. She's there just to taunt, soak up annihilates, and die. She's going to help fuel Asajj's stacking offense, and the higher scores that you'll see are facilitated by a lower gear zombie, but teams with gear 12 zombies are still capable of getting over 5 million.
We're breaking this into 2 parts. First, we're going to go over managing turn meter, stacking offense, and where to direct your damage, and then we'll go over gear, zeta, and mods for your Nightsisters. First, a bit about our enemies. Under Ventress's lead, the sisters have a 50% chance to remove 20% turn meter, but only Darth Nihilus' turn meter can be reduced. Conversely, Sion gains 5% turn meter every time he's damaged, though this doesn't really matter because Darth Nihilus almost always gets to enrage before him, so it's okay to feed Sion turn meter using AoEs. Darth Nihilus has less armor, so you want to focus damage on him in order to get a really big score. This is great because the one thing you don't want is to kill Sion first. The buff Sion passes to Nihilus when he dies makes him nearly impossible to kill. Now in the raid, when healers bring the sisters up to 100% health, Trey's Bonds of Weakness will immediately damage the toons with the next move, regardless of what it is. Any toons who are at full health will receive 50% turn meter. Then, either damage is done, or they're healed again to full health and the turn meter train goes on. Your turn meter train will end when it's the turn of a toon that either can't heal other Nightsisters to 100% health, or your other healers are not at 100% turn meter or don't have a healing ability off cooldown. Manipulating turn meter and some good old RNG makes it possible to have your Nightsisters take over 30 turns before Darth Nihilus takes 1. This will take over 7% of his health in the process. Now, Darth Nihilus gains 30 speed for every hit he gets and can build up over 600 speed during this time. but not to worry. He'll go as soon as your turn meter train ends, and then all his bonuses are reset. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty and the how-to of it all. The first step is to get rid of your toon's protection as soon as possible and kill the sides. Because Asajj is your main source of damage due to the stacking offense on her unique, kill the sides before new ones are summoned, unless you use them to spread plague. If you're feeling like playing a high-risk game, you can also let some of your Nightsisters die and revive them with Daka. You can actually use Nihilus's protection steal to your advantage here, using basic attacks on him to decrease the protection on your toons by 25%. Some people also try and start at the very end of P3 to reduce some of the protection at the end of that phase before going into P4. Once the protection is off, it's turn meter management time. The second step, generally speaking, is when you have a toon with the ability to heal, you want to use that heal, unless you have other healers with 100% turn meter and their healing abilities off cooldown. You have to watch very closely and keep track of where everybody is in their cooldowns to make sure you manage turn meter properly. The third step is to soothe as soon as you might not be able to heal to 100% health. The safest option is to soothe when the bonds of weakness are at 20 or below, as there is a lower chance of your Nightsisters dying or of you being prevented from healing to 100% health. You can also let high stacks of bonds of weakness build up. This approach has a higher damage potential, as Asajj and Mother Talzin will do additional damage from the stacks of Cycle of Pain or Cycle of Suffering. If you want to play this high-risk game, Daka's Zeta is recommended. With this approach, you want to soothe when either an AoE is coming up, so you want to watch the boss cooldown counters, or when the bonds of weakness are becoming so high that it's very difficult to heal up to 100% health. If you have high bonds of weakness, beware of using Talia's double hit special, as taking damage twice from bonds of weakness can prevent you from healing to 100%, and similar caution for Mother Talzin's Spirit Blade. When bonds are high, this will decrease your health considerably. Now, learning from Meka, something that immediately increased my score a ton, was the knowledge to always attack Darth Nihilus, except with basics from Daka and Zombie. Asajj, Mother Talzin, and Talia all do more damage on their basic than Nihilus will gain in protection back. Additionally, because Nihilus has less armor than Sion and you can do damage more easily on him, Talia's basic will heal more effectively when attacking Nihilus, as it's based on the amount of damage done. You generally want to use Asajj and Talzin's AoE whenever it's available. While the AoE does less damage to each boss, the combined damage is more than doing a basic on Darth Nihilus. Similarly, while neither of Mekarogue's 2 8 million plus runs involved Plague, if you manage to land Plague, then you should use Talzin's basic instead of her AoE, so she's still doing damage to both toons. The fifth step is to clear off Isolate as a priority if it falls on any toon other than Zombie. While Zombie often gets isolated, which is not an issue, if any of your other Nightsisters get isolated, get rid of it immediately using the Raid special ability that Zombie has. If an isolated toon other than Zombie dies, they cannot be revived. Step 6 is managing Annihilate so that none of your sisters other than Zombie die to Annihilate. You have 2 tools to do this. The first is Zombie, and the second is Unyielding Will, the little buff when you kill one of the sides that has the matching buff. If Nihilus has Annihilate off cooldown, then he will use Annihilate first when his turn is up. If Annihilate is 1 turn from cooldown and Force Drain is not off cooldown, then Nihilus will typically do a basic and then Annihilate. Since his basic dispels, regardless of whether your zombie will or won't survive the basic, you should have Unyielding Will up, as there is a risk of him removing Taunt and another toon getting annihilated. If Annihilate is multiple turns from cooldown, but Nihilus has Force Drain off cooldown, you need to decide whether Force Drain will allow Annihilate to come off cooldown. If it will, then you need to use Unyielding Will. If you're unsure, better to use an Unyielding Will and waste it rather than regret not using it. The 7th step, and we're almost at the end, is to use Undying Will to maximize your end run damage during Enrage. If the bosses don't have an AoE coming up, How you do this is you use Undying Will on a toon other than Daka, and ideally not Asajj. The bosses should then target that toon while Asajj can get a few more hits in. When the bosses have an AoE coming up, put Undying Will on Daka. Expect the AoE to kill all your toons, except Zombie, but Daka can then revive them, allowing you to get an additional turn into Enrage. And the last and final step is to have great RNG. Mekarogue's last P4 runs employing the same mods and approach yielded scores of 8.8 million, 6.5 million with Plague, 8.3 million, and 5.3 million. However, using the right strategy and optimal mods will set you up for success when RNG chooses to smile on you.
So now that we know the right technique, let's look at the character builds. You're going to want max gear on your Nightsisters. This includes the additional pieces at gear 12, the med packs, the bayonets, the multi-tools, you name it. To get these scores that he's showing, you are going to need max gear Nightsisters. As far as Zetas goes, the order of importance is as follows. You're definitely going to want Asajj's lead first and foremost. We've discussed it throughout this whole video. The second most important is probably going to be her unique as well, the Rampage. Talzin's unique is beneficial and it will increase the damage output, especially if you're taking like a higher risk approach. And Daka's unique is beneficial and will allow greater survivability and facilitate this riskier playstyle. Let's go over a quick couple tips on the mods. We'll touch on a couple overall concepts for modding. Speed comes from Asajj's leadership and the turn meter it provides you. So high speed secondaries are essential in this team. And in terms of the circle mod or anywhere on the mods, if there's a choice of protection or health, you're always going to want to go with health. Asajj is going to be your top priority for your modding strategy. You're going to want 216% critical damage, and this comes from using a complete critical damage set and also a critical damage primary on your triangle mod slot. A common mistake is the crit chance set, but her crit chance stacks so high naturally from her Rampage unique that it's going to be 100% before you know it. A health set is the better play, where you can mix and match your mods just to get the highest offensive secondaries possible. And speaking of offense, this is the story with Asajj and Talzin both. You want high offensive secondaries in every slot, and all the primary stats on your arrows and crosses should be offense. You'll see that Mekarogue is using a speed arrow in the example posted, but it's just because of the massive 201 offense secondary that he has on it, which is actually going to be higher than the 5.88% that the primary offense would provide. Talzin is similar, but she doesn't have that Rampage unique, so you will need some crit chance on her. You'll notice he's using a protection circle, not a health circle. This is because of the high crit chance secondary that is posted on this mod. Mekarogue has taken a pure DPS approach to modding Talzin, and neither of his 8 million plus runs landed Plague. However, runs with the Plague, it does tend to see Mother Talzin's damage roughly doubled. Therefore, there is an argument you could also mod her for potency, with a potency cross to increase the chance of landing this Plague. More RNG, but likely higher score potential. The primary benefit from Plague is not its percent health based damage, but instead it comes from Talzin's basic, which will cause damage to be done a second time to any unit with at least one stack of Plague on them. Daka's modding strategy is pretty simple. You just want to mod her for as much health as possible. And after health, you can put a little bit of speed on her just to increase the chance of her getting a turn on the margin. Next up is Talia. She's not a primary damage dealer in this comp, but the size of the heals really depends on how much damage she's doing on her basic attack. So you want to mod her for maximum damage with offense on the arrow and cross, just like Asajj and Talzin. You'll see he's using a critical damage and critical chance on the mod sets. An offensive mod set would also be an alternative approach because her natural crit chance is rather low. And last and not least is Zombie. Mekarogue has a weak zombie that is modded purely for speed. While the team gets most of their turn meter from Asajj's lead, there's no other useful stat for Zombie in P4 of the Sith Raid, so you just want to maximize her speed and increase the probability of her taking additional turns.
The final point in our video is that this team has huge potential left. Mekarogue points out that there were numerous mistakes in his 8.8 million run, including losing out on potential turns in Enrage by not using Undying Will. Links to Meka's 2 full 8 million plus Nightsister runs are in the description below. I'm T Money G, and the other voice you heard was good old Maurice, and we are both part of Operation Metaverse. We're trying to explode onto the YouTube scene and invite you to share this video with your guild and in your favorite chat rooms. We have a ton of content planned that you will not want to miss, so like and subscribe to get updates when more videos are released. We hope this video has helped and would love to hear if it has improved your P4 score. A final shout out and thank you to Mekarogue for his hours of help on this video and his willingness to share his expertise with the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes community.